Welcome to today's deep dive. Whether you are, catching up on the latest industry trends, or you're just insanely curious about the hidden systems that shape the physical spaces you visit every day, our mission today is to essentially shortcut your way to being perfectly well informed on the future of physical spaces.
Exactly. And we've got some incredible source material today.
Yeah, we really do. We are looking at a fascinating presentation from the Global Hotel Innovation Summit that took place in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Right. And the speaker there was Elise Kotelnikova. She is a global interior design consultant, and she's got over a decade of experience doing this across the U.S., Dubai, and tons of international markets.
And the hook of her her bold premise is basically that the future of hotel design isn't something that's 5 years away. It is actually reshaping right now.
Yeah, she made it very clear. Projects that are adapting today are going to cost less, they'll move much faster, and they'll honestly just look better than anything built the traditional way.
Because we're looking at how two major buzzwords, AI and virtual reality, are fundamentally solving this massive thing she calls the design trap.
Right, a trap that is currently costing the hospitality industry millions of dollars.
Literally millions. But to really understand why these high-tech solutions matter, you need to understand the massive, incredibly expensive problems anchoring the current industry.
Yeah, you have to understand the friction of the traditional hotel design process. It's painfully slow, it's expensive, and it has incredibly limited visibility.
I mean, imagine you are ordering a multi-million-dollar wedding cake.
Okay.
The baker sits you down, shows you a quick, two-dimensional pencil sketch of what it might look like, hands you a tiny little spoonful of vanilla frosting to taste.
Just a spoonful.
Right, and then you just have to wait. You write this massive check, the baker disappears into the kitchen for 6 months, and you simply cross your finger.
Which is terrifying when you're spending millions of dollars.
Exactly. And you don't actually get to see the whole cake, let alone taste a real slice of it, until the actual day of the wedding when it's fully baked, stacked, and being served to hundreds of people.
Yeah, and if you suddenly realize right then that the structural integrity is failing, or you actually hate the taste of the fondant.
It is way, way too late.
Right.
But that terrifying fingers crossed scenario is exactly how we have been building multi-million-dollar hotels for decades.
It really is. And the real-world cost of that inefficiency is staggering. In the traditional method, if you want to know what a room feels like, you build a physical mock-up room.
Which is essentially a life-size 3D drafting tool.
Exactly. And those mock-up rooms consume massive amounts of capital and time. You have to lease a warehouse space, source physical samples of every carpet, every wall covering, every light fixture.
Shipping them internationally, usually.
Yeah, and then you bring in contractors to actually build the fake room. And physical samples create literal waste, like mountains of it. Plus you have architects and developers flying across the globe repeatedly just to look at a room. The carbon footprint alone is massive.
Wait, so if the owner walks into that physical mock-up room and says, actually, I don't like how this lighting hits the desk or the spatial flow just feels a bit cramped, they can't just swap a light bulb or push a chair over.
No, I mean, it is rarely just a bulb.
Yeah.
If the spatial flow is wrong, you are literally tearing down drywall. You are moving hardwired electrical conduits. So revisions at this stage happen incredibly late in the game, and they're wildly expensive.
Wow.
This raises an important question. If the traditional way is so wasteful and so slow, how exactly does technology intervene without losing the physical essence of hospitality?
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the friction of that old way is solved by digitizing the very foundation of the physical project itself. Elise argues that the manual tape measure site visits are completely dead.
Completely dead.
AI scanning has taken over. It captures a physical space and generates hyper-accurate floor plans and 3D models almost instantly.
We should clarify, we aren't just talking about snapping a nice panoramic photo on your phone.
No. We are talking about LiDAR technology and advanced photogrammetry.
Right. A LiDAR scanner shoots out millions of laser pulses every single second, bouncing them off every surface in the room to measure exact distances. It creates this perfectly accurate, millimeter-precise digital twin called a point cloud.
But a point cloud is basically just a massive collection of digital dots, right?
Yeah, it is.
So how does a cloud of dots actually help a designer skip the drafting phase?
Well, that is where the artificial intelligence layer really kicks in. Traditional drafting software just sees a billion dots. A human has to look at those dots and manually trace the lines to create a floor plan.
Which takes forever.
Exactly. But AI uses semantic segmentation. It looks at that massive cloud of dots and understands the context. The algorithm recognizes, this flat vertical plane of dots is a load-bearing wall. This rectangular void is a window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it automatically converts raw, dumb geometry into a highly intelligent, working architectural blueprint.
So it actually understands what it's looking at?
It does.
And the elimination of human error there must be massive.
Oh, it is. When a human measures a complex space, they might miss a slight 2-degree variance in a wall's angle. That gets drafted into the blueprint, custom furniture is ordered, and months later, the furniture arrives on site and literally does not fit.
Ouch.
Yeah, the cascade of delays from one measurement error is devastating. AI scanning removed those errors at minute 0.
And that leads to a staggering statistic from Elise's presentation. She noted that AI generation reduces design timelines by up to 80%.
80%? It's wild.
Concepts, layouts, and specifications that used to take weeks are now being produced in a matter of hours.
And shaving weeks or months off the design phase saves millions of dollars in carrying costs and construction loans. Time is the most expensive line item.
Right. And this speed completely revolutionizes FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Elise introduces this concept of e-design.
Yes, e-design is huge.
Instead of waiting for physical samples, complete procurement boards are generated digitally. But I want to be clear here, a procurement board isn't just a digital mood board, right? Like a Pinterest board.
Oh, no, it's vastly more complex than a mood board. A mood board is just an inspiration picture. A procurement board is the actual bridge to the global supply chain.
Okay, so how does e-design handle that?
The AI systems don't just drop a generic pretty chair into a 3D model. They pull digital assets tied to real-world inventory. Every single fabric, every lighting fixture, every piece of art is specified and sourced into one centralized system.
So the designer is basically building the purchasing order while they model the space.
Exactly. You get a full procurement package with exact spec sheets, fire ratings, pricing, supplier info, all ready for immediate execution. It vastly reduces the need for physical samples.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Speed and efficiency are great for the bottom line, but hospitality isn't just about blueprints. It's about how a space actually feels.
Right. The vibe.
Yeah. So how do you replace that physical mock-up room we talked about? Elise points to 360-degree virtual reality. You can put on a headset and literally walk through a space that does not yet exist.
And you are seeing materials and furniture placement in full, immersive, photorealistic detail.
Which is such a massive leap from the clunky VR we had a decade ago.
Oh, absolutely. The financial brilliance here is that this gives developers and owners a powerful tool to market and sell properties before construction is even finished.
Pre-selling based on a VR walkthrough.
Yes. It effectively eliminates costly construction phase mistakes because you've already walked the space.
And Elise gave a really specific example of global collaboration using this tech. She talked about a developer sitting in Dubai and a designer sitting in Los Angeles.
Right. They could just put on their headsets, log into the same virtual project, and walk through the hotel lobby together in real time.
Making decisions without any delays or miscommunications, like, let's change this sofa to blue, and boom, it's blue.
Exactly. No flying across the world, no waiting for a new swatch to arrive in the mail.
But, okay, let me play devil's advocate for you, the listener, for a second. Wait, buying an entire hotel's worth of furniture based on a digital headset? Are clients actually comfortable making millions of dollars of decisions remotely without touching the fabric?
That exact skepticism came up during Elise's Q&A session.
I bet it did.
Yeah, but her answer was unequivocal. Yes, more than ever.
Really?
Yeah, because the visual fidelity of these 360 VR walkthroughs is so incredibly high now, it actually gives clients significantly more confidence than staring at a flat 2D sketch and holding a tiny 2-inch fabric swatch.
Oh, that makes total sense. Your brain doesn't have to try and guess what that tiny square of fabric will look like wrapped around 20 massive sofas in a naturally lit lobby.
Exactly. The context is there. You see how the blue fabric plays off the wood paneling under the exact lighting conditions. The endless iteration over aesthetics is solved digitally.
Which is amazing. But if AI and VR are doing all this heavy lifting, generating floor plans in hours, and handling procurement, what happens to the human designers?
Right. Are algorithms just designing our hotels now?
Yeah.
Well, Elise addresses this directly, and she makes a crucial point. AI is a tool, not the creative vision. It accelerates workflows and handles the tedious documentation, but the strategy, the direction, the actual decision-making, that still fundamentally comes from experienced human designers.
I think she had a quote during the Q&A. She said, "The goal is not to replace design, it's to improve the process."
What's fascinating here is how she actually applied this to her own business. She founded Virtualistic Interiors years ago with this vision of a fully remote design studio operating without boundaries.
What felt ahead of its time back then is literally the new standard now.
Exactly. And they are scaling globally right now through franchise development.
Wait, a franchise model? Why franchise? If the tech allows for a brilliant designer in LA to perfectly design our hotel in Kuala Lumpur using VR, doesn't that inherently eliminate the need for local offices?
You'd think so, looking purely at the software. But while the tech allows for global boundaryless design, real estate still absolutely requires local relationships and local market knowledge.
Ah, right. Because a rendering engine doesn't pull a building permit.
Precisely. You need someone on the ground who understands regional zoning laws, fire codes, the specific nuances of the local contractor labor pool.
And local supply chain logistics, like knowing which materials are stuck at the port.
Yes. So by franchising, they operate under a unified global digital system to maintain speed and visual quality, but they empower local partners who understand the physical heartbeat of their specific market.
So what does this all mean? The era of delayed, wasteful, geographically limited hotel design is basically over.
It really is.
By blending AI precision with VR immersion, the industry is creating better spaces, faster, and cheaper. And Elise noted this workflow is already bleeding into residential and luxury developments, too.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Elise's challenge to the summit was very clear. The industry is shifting right now. The only question is who moves first. The firms that adapt to this workflow are gaining an almost insurmountable competitive advantage.
The physical construction is no longer a draft. It's the final, flawless printout.
Beautifully put.
As we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder something that builds on Elise's point about balancing global digital design with local knowledge.
Okay.
We are moving into an era where a designer in Los Angeles can instantly build and furnish a fully realized, hyper-efficient hotel in Kuala Lumpur using AI and VR. The friction of borders is totally gone.
Right.
So how will our very definition of local authenticity change? Will the very feel of our local spaces become globalized? Like, will a lobby in Dubai start feeling exactly like a lobby in New York? Or, by stripping away the tedious friction of manual blueprints and sourcing physical samples, will these digital tools actually free up designers to focus more deeply on the unique cultural soul of the cities they are building in?
That is a profound question. It really challenges how we'll shape the physical world moving forward.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. Keep an eye on the spaces you walk into, and we will catch you next time on The Deep Dive.